Hey, what's happening? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Let There Be Talk. Today is July, the 4th of July, and this episode is brought to you by my great sponsor, Earthquaker Devices. Perfect fucking sponsor for today, because, you know, a lot of fucking rock and roll is being played out there in America. Lots of rock and roll, which means lots of stomp pedals are being used all over right now. Right now on stage, somebody's stomping a box, just wow. So Earthquaker is the perfect sponsor for 4th of July, since there's tons of noise made on the 4th of July. You want to make some noise, like some fuzz. You want to be a noise band. Maybe you're into some desert rock. Maybe you just like funky jazz or soul, anything. You're going to need some foot pedals, and Earthquaker Devices has them. Check them out on Instagram or on Facebook or Twitter, earthquakerdevices.com. They got every pedal on the planet. Set your footboard up, make it look cool, and finally have some stuff that doesn't fall apart when you're out there gigging. You don't want your gear to fall apart. Nothing worse than ghetto gear. Get yourself some fucking quality handmade pedals from Earthquaker Devices. Incredible week, and I mean it, man. I've done a lot of fucking road trips in my life, and I've done a lot of stand-up, over 3,000 spots, and this last week was, you know, probably the top 3 of my life. And I say that a lot. Like, I'll go out somewhere and I'll come home and go, that was the one. Well, it just, you know, it keeps getting better, and it blows my mind. And this week was definitely smoking. I was in Denver headlining the Comedy Works, and it is definitely the first club, meaning, you know, it's one of the best clubs in America. They were the first. Wendy, the owner, was the first person that really said, come out and headline. And that was last year, 4th of July. And boom, here I am again. I'm a 4th of July fucking regular in Denver. I've been to Denver about 5 times in the last year, I believe. Once with Marin, once with Burr. Headlining last year, also with Jay Moore. I've been there with Russell Peters. I've been there with Chris D'Elia. And it's an incredible city. And I really could live there if I didn't do stand-up comedy. I bounce around the country a lot, and I think, could I live here? And then something hits me, and I'm like, nah, I couldn't. You know, at first I love the city, and then I'm like, oh, but it has this or that. And Denver Denver and Boulder, they don't have any tripwires. I look at it and go, wow, this is a great place to live, except for their shitty high rents that they're going through right now. Just like LA, San Francisco, New York, Austin, Portland, anywhere that's pretty fucking good, the rent's gonna cost big money now. And that's what's going on out there in Denver. I talk to a lot of people. I run a bit about high rents, and I can see that people relate with it big time. And so it's not a dream place to move where you go like, oh, I could move there and pay like $850 for a 1-bedroom. Not going to happen. And I get it. You're going to get what you pay for. If the city is super cool, it's going to cost money. Let's just come to terms with that now in our lives. If you keep saying, man, the rents are fucking crazy, it's probably because where you live is cool. That's all there is to it, man. Cool shit costs money. It always has. It always will. And Denver and Boulder are fucking cool, and it's loaded with cool people. And I'm not just saying that. Saturday night at the Comedy Works was the last show of the 5-run show. I headlined 5 nights there. And over the last few years, I'm always complaining like, come on, get out. You guys aren't coming out. But people are fucking coming out now, and it's feeling good. And Saturday night was sold out, and it was my first standing O I ever got as a comedian in the 6.5 years, over 3,000 spots. I never really think about standing O's. That's it's for big stars, and I get it. They go on and they absolutely murder. So you're not sitting there going like, oh, I never got a standing O. And you don't even care. It's not like something you're writing material for, like, man, this set's going to get me a standing O. That's not what it's about. You know, it's not about standing O's and fucking glory. It's about people enjoying themselves and you enjoying yourself so much that the whole fucking room is electric. It's electric. A lot of that has to do with Wendy and the Comedy Works, the actual room. I did an hour and 17 minutes. They have these new bags that you have to put your cell phone in. First time I saw it was when I opened for Louis C.K. at the store. And the first time I heard about it was when Dave Chappelle went on tour. Somebody in the Bay Area invented this kind of wetsuit style bag. You have to put your cell phone in it, and some kind of magnetic trick, it seals it while you're in your seat. You can't look at your phone. If you need to see your phone or make a call, you can feel it vibrate. You have to leave the room, and when you leave the room, the bag opens up, which makes the room fucking fire. And I am saying this right now. An hour and 17 minutes of doing comedy and not one person looking at their phone, you've got their attention. And it's dangerous. It feels amazing. And if you're bombing, they're going to know because they don't have anything to just kill their time with like their phone. So you got to bring it, man. And Saturday night when I said, thank you, good night, and the whole room stood up, I was like, wow. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep Saturday night. It was a special night for me, and I want to thank everyone that came out all 5 nights, Tuesday through Saturday. All of you people were fantastic. I'll give a couple special shout outs to some really cool people that were out there. First of all, Tiffany, I don't know your last name because you just have one name on Instagram and Twitter, but she came 4 of the 5 nights. Talk about a Del raiser. And she took great photos of the shows, and she had a great time. Also, I got to see old friend Jamie Lundy, who I played her music on here about a year ago. She's a very cool friend. And one of the coolest things that's happened in a long time, a friend of mine, a new friend, Matt Adams, who had been following this show since Poolside with Dean Del Rey, 4 years, 265 episodes, flew out from Chicago to see the show. Wow. Fucking, when somebody does that, I stop in my tracks for a minute and just take it in. Like, how fucking cool is that? So thank you to you guys, all 3 of you. And also a huge thank you to Bronston Jones, a good old friend of mine. I had him feature, who is a comedian and has an amazing show in Venice called The Venice Underground. And he's had it for coming up on 2 years now, 2-year anniversary coming up in like 2 weeks. I brought him out. He's a great human. And he's a funny comedian, and he also helped me out a lot when I was starting by giving me spots over and over out there in Venice. And I love to repay. So it was great to bring him out and let him work in a club like this. And my other fantastic friend, Steve Henry, who I started comedy with 6.5 years ago. There's the three of us in another city doing stand-up. 3 LA dudes. Nothing feels better than that. And Steve's out there driving around America doing comedy and seeing America all summer. So fucking Steve is unbelievable. Steve Henry, I love you, brother. All three of you guys, Steve, or both of you guys, all three of you guys. Steve and Bronson, thank you. And most of all, thank you, Wendy, and everyone at the Comedy Works and all the staff. It was an insane weekend. I did comedy all week, and then, of course, you guys know I'm a Grateful Dead freak. I've been trying to see Dead and Company. I was shitting on Mayor for months. Then I see the video, their first shows at Madison Square Garden. You can watch that on YouTube. And I was like, wow, what an idiot I am. I need to go see that. And I was just judging John Mayer, because of his Body is a Wonderland and his tabloid life. I feel once you're in the tabloids, your mystique and your street cred is gone. If you're out there dating high caliber pop stars and stuff like that. But I realized I was just judging him. I was just being a dick. He's into great shit. He loves watches. He loves Defender 90 Land Rovers. He loves guitar and gear. He has incredible tone. He can play the fucking shit out of the guitar. I was like, let's stop judging him. Who am I? Just some fucking clown on a couch with a $2 podcast. I'm not judging him. I know how hard it is, the music biz, to get somewhere. Are you kidding me? To learn a fucking instrument, and then buy the instrument, and then find some dudes and write some songs, and then get a record deal, and then, it sells 5 million copies, and then you're thrown into a whirlwind of, celebrity fucking jeopardy. So, yeah, man, not judging him anymore. I went and saw him, and he smoked it. I'm dying to get him on the podcast. I want to talk watches with him. I want to talk fucking guitars. I want to talk amps. I want to talk Grateful Dead. So funny, man. So I get to the show, and after the first set, I realize, wait a minute. And this is how funny it is. It's like your mind really works in weird ways. Like you'll know shit, and you don't use it in your mind, and maybe something sparks it. Because I saw the Dead last year, and I didn't even think about this, what I'm about to tell you. I'm sitting there, and I'm one set in on the Dead, and I realized, wow, the guy I gave my apartment to when I left San Francisco, his name's Sharuki, he works for the Dead. I was thinking, he does the monitors. So I text him, yo, man, I'm in the stadium. He texts right back, Del Rey? I said, yeah. He said, come to stage right away. And I run over there. And there he is, man. Sharuki. I get backstage. He immediately starts telling me, I'm stage manager now. I'm the stage manager now. From monitor man to stage manager. I'm like, holy shit. And we start talking. He's still in my old apartment, 16 years now. And he's been doing sound all his life. And this is his 25th year with the Dead. 25 years. Imagine that cool fucking job. You're just one day, you're doing monitors for the Dead. His last show he did with Jerry was the last show Jerry ever played, Soldier Field. So he's been working with the Dead from 25 years. And there he is. He's seen all the Inceptions, all the different fucking, Further, and the Horde tours, and Rat Dog, and Phil and Friends, and Farewell Thee, and Dead and Co. Everything. He's been there. His job has been working with the Dead. That's fucking cool. Which goes back to thinking about those two guys I had on last week. Harold and Night Bob, which, by the way, you guys loved. Thank you so much. Shout out to all the techs on 4th of July. You know, they're out there fucking working their asses off on 4th of July. Shout out to all rock and roll live music techs. Anyway, so I got to see Mayer's guitar. I got to see Bob Weir's guitars and amps and look at the crowd from the stage and all the people smiling. Deadheads, no matter what you think, are happy fucking people. No matter if you think they're just hippies or... I used to think that. And one thing I learned from a deadhead is they're out enjoying life, man. Following the dead around. Hearing music. They got their own cities. The parking lot, Shakedown Street. All of that shit. They all got smiles on their faces. It's amazing. They're fucking happy. Maybe that's why I hated them so long. I was like, fuck those guys and their smiles. But man, I was smiling. And Sharuki said he'd do the podcast. So we're going to have Dead and Company, stage manager on the show here pretty soon. I don't know when, but it's going to happen, which is great. And hopefully we get John Mayer and really get into that. It's Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving, guys. It's 4th of July, and I just wanted to give you guys a little rundown real quick. I Wikipedia'd 4th of July because I just like to know exactly what it is. Because you can walk around, I know what it is, but you can ask people, hey, what is 4th of July? And most people just say, yeah, fireworks, barbecue, dude, weed. But here you go. In essence... it is when USA was born and declared its freedom from the rule and ownership of Great Britain. I don't know what you were doing when you were 24 years old, but I know I was out playing rock and roll and having a dream of getting a record deal and seeing the world. I don't know what you were doing when you were 24, but I bet you weren't a cobbler. I've met a lot of people in my life, a lot, and I've never met a cobbler like a 24-year-old cobbler. I first met this guy a couple years ago at Inspirations, which is it is my favorite clothing show every year in LA. He was sitting there. He had a hat on. He was wearing overalls. He had a pair of boots. I said, those are cool. He goes, I made them. I was like, get out of here. He looked 17 years old. He said, yeah, man. I made these boots by hand. And immediately I was like, wow. He got his big break on Instagram. You're going to hear about it here. His name is Brian the Bootmaker on Instagram. And before you maybe start this episode right now, turn it off for a minute and go to Instagram and punch in Brian the Bootmaker. The reason I want you to do that is you'll understand why I'm such a freak for this kid and his level of talent. And the magnitude of his talent will blow your mind. 24 years old, his own business, making boots in downtown Los Angeles with a company called Roll Club. That's his company. Everything made from the ground up by hand from a 24-year-old kid. And I love this episode, and it's a continuation of my handmade series. And I love doing these handmade series. I've got some great guys coming up here in the future. And anytime I can see somebody that I think makes something amazing by hand and I can keep him in business, I'm going to have him on this show and spread the word. So get ready right now for a little Brian the Bootmaker. Happy 4th of July. Before I go any further, El Rey Theater, Los Angeles, July 19th. Me, Mark Maron, Joey Diaz, and Anthony Jeselnik. That's July 19th. Please get tickets now at the El Rey Theater. Toronto, I'm coming your way. July 22nd, 23rd. New York, I'll be at the Stand, 27, 28, 29, 30. Gotham in New York for the Juice Show, August 2nd. And this just in, August 31st through September 4th, I'll be headlining at the House of Comedy in Arizona. That's all my shows coming up. Thank you, everyone. Don't blow your fucking hand up. Keep the candles lit. Brian, the bootmaker. All right, here we are, another episode of Let There Be Talk. This is another installment of the Handmade series, and I finally got one of my favorite people on the show here, Brian, the bootmaker from Roll Club, downtown Los Angeles, old school style, right?
Right on. It's something new. I never done this before.
Yeah, you never did a podcast.
First podcast ever.
Well, sitting in this, in your shop here, it feels like I've come from the future. You know what I mean? And I've dropped into like maybe 1930s, and I'm in a cobbler's shop, right?
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt when I first came here.
Now, how old are you? Because you look crazy young.
24.
24. 24 years old. And you make boots by hand. How did you get into that? And how did you learn it? And how long? I mean, come on, man. Because your stuff, if people watch my YouTube videos, not your YouTube videos that I've retweeted, your stuff is incredible, man. How do you learn that? How'd you get into it?
Well, it started from way back in high school.
Way back. Like 4 years ago. 5.
It feels like a long time because I feel like it took a long time to learn how to make boots. But in high school, when I was like a freshman, I used to customize sneakers.
Is that right? Now, you grew up in L.A.?
I grew up in Torrance.
And so you were into, what kind of customizing were you doing? Were you getting like Air Force Ones and stuff and then painting them and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, exactly. I used to customize like Air Force Ones, Nike SBs, and I'll actually just paint them. That's all I did was just paint because I used to love to paint. And I used to screen print at home, and that was my thing. I just felt like I wanted to be an artist back in high school, and that was my passion. And from there, I used to paint sneakers, and then I started taking them apart.
Really?
And that was the major difference that helped me understand more about making shoes and sneakers.
Now, why were you taking them apart? So you could paint them better, and then would you put them back together?
Yeah, so the reason why I took them apart, because there was some materials that I couldn't paint on.
Right.
So I was like, oh, why not just switch the materials and make it look cooler, and we can add like denim or, random fabrics I would find.
Into the panels.
Yeah.
So you're unstitching them by hand and then cutting a new panel and putting it in there?
Yeah, exactly. Just like that. And that's where I bought my first sewing machine. And that's the first time I ever met an actual shoemaker. It wasn't here before. It was some other shop I found on Craigslist or something. Guy was selling some old machines. And he used to make shoes and clown shoes for Disneyland.
Wow.
So I was like, whoa, that's pretty cool.
For the cast there?
Yeah, for like he makes
Snow
Mickey Mouse,
White and all that stuff?
all that.
Wow. So he made those shoes by hand.
Yeah, so he had all these clown shoes and all that. I was like, wow, I never knew this world existed at that moment. And then I bought the sewing machine, but I ended up finding like it was crap because he kind of,
Yeah.
Yeah, and then from there, I used to work in my room. I used to customize sneakers, take them apart, put them back together. It was pretty bad. It wasn't so great. Mostly everything was with glue, and I sucked literally. And then,
but were you getting orders? Like, were people at school going, "Hey, man, I got to have some of those shoes"?
I never pushed it out like that. I just did it for myself because I like to do it. And I would try to make a pair for my mom or my girlfriend. My girlfriend still has the first pair of sneakers I ever made her. It was pretty bad.
You still have that girlfriend? That's more impressive. Right? I mean,
right? Yeah.
High school girlfriend. You're 24.
We're still together. Yeah, we're still together.
So you're making some sneakers and you're getting into that. Do you think at any point that you're like, hey man, I'm going to be a cobbler? I mean, because I don't know any cobblers. I've met a lot of people in my life, and it's coming down to the end of like, I'm sure there's a ton out there, like in the Midwest, older guys, but not a 24-year-old cobbler. So you're making this stuff. What pushes you into, I want to start doing this because you're making money, because you said no one's ordering your shoes. So what's pushing you that way to do it?
To be honest, Cause I'm that type of guy. When in high school, I was that guy who just did his work, went home type guy. You know, I think I was more introverted than extro. So that's how I found. That's how I had fun, I guess, creating things.
Right.
You know, that's where I didn't have as many friends, so I'd just go home and design and design and design. And my dream was to have a clothing brand or something to push something that I can actually work for myself.
Were you into hip hop clothing, or were you into, because we're talking, what are we talking, like 7-8 years ago?
Yeah, 2010. That was my senior year. So
yeah. So what kind of clothing are you into? Because what's going on now, of course, with the show here right up the street from your shop, Inspiration, is a full hipster world of high quality handmade clothing and stuff. But back then, were you just into hip hop?
To be honest, if I saw myself in high school right now, I would never expect me wearing a pair of overalls and a fedora. Like back then, my style was I was a basketball player.
Oh yeah?
I would just wear basketball shorts and a t-shirt at school.
That's all you wore? You played hoop?
Yeah, that was my thing. I played basketball for Carson High. That was my high school.
Yep.
And I just played basketball, and no one would ever expect me to be customizing stuff at home or making.
So it's like on the download, kind of a nerd thing, right?
Yeah.
Were you a nerd at school, or were you?
Not really. Well, I finished high school with like a 3.9.
Yeah, well,
so.
yeah. Like,
well, I just
the juxtapose is jock nerd. It's so weird. Great grades, but a jock, you know. Yeah. And at home, I'm a secret shoe sneaker maker.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how I started, from customizing sneakers, and then I came to the shop. See, like I didn't say I wanted to be a boot maker. You know, I didn't have the biggest passion about exactly boots. But because I came to the shop, it changed my life. Because I met my teacher. You know, I feel because I met my teacher, he actually gave me a perspective in life. And he actually made me, I guess, grow up. Like, I grew up in this shop. You know, I was 18 years old. I was more of a shy guy. You know, just doing my thing. I never was really outspoken. But then I met my teacher, and I met people in this neighborhood, and I kind of grew up with them, you know. They actually helped me evolve.
Who owns this shop? Like, what brought you here?
This shop? Yeah. Oh, because my grandma lives 2 streets down.
And you just happened to stumble in?
And she was like, "Oh, mijo, you're working on shoes? Oh, there's a shoe repair shop on Maple and 23rd. Why don't you go over there and check it out?" And I was like, okay. And I came here.
Yeah.
And then I saw, well, back then it was another owner and 2 other workers and my teacher. And then I was like, "Oh, do you guys sell any threads or leathers?" And the owner was like, "Oh, talk to that guy over there." And I was like, "Excuse me." Boom. That's where I saw my teacher.
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Oh, you have any threads?" Blah, blah, blah. It's like, "Yeah, sure. Come here. I have all these threads. Just give me $1 or whatever." And I was looking to the side. I was like, "Oh, wow, look, these guys have these weird machines." And I was like, "That's so cool."
I mean, these machines, I took a picture of one. You can see it in my Instagram. What are they from? The 30s?
They're pretty old. I'm not even sure the exact date, but there's a machine in front of the shop that's been there for 70 years.
Wow. How long's this shop been here?
It's been here for maybe 70, 80 years. I'm the 4th owner.
You're the 4th owner?
Yeah, the 4th.
It's been here 80 years. It's right by the Staples Center, and it is so old school, man. I love it. You come in, and it's like 10 old machines, and then just leather and boots.
Yeah.
So you start, so you say, "Hey man, you buy some threads," and you go, "I want to start being an apprentice," or what's going on?
Not really an apprentice. I just asked him, "Can I just come and watch you work?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, sure. But you have to come on Sundays, and you can't tell the owner because the owner won't let you be here because, you know, I might get hurt."
Right.
So every Sunday I come here and watch my teacher work on boots.
And boots. And you're still thinking sneakers?
I was thinking sneakers. And it's in that very moment, all I was thinking is, let me apply this boot stuff to sneakers.
Uh-huh.
You know, so I actually would make like sneakers with a wedge sole, or make them look, you know, half boot, half sneaker.
Yeah.
But there was a moment where all I saw was making sneakers, and all I saw was him working on boots, and he told me, "All right, if you can make a boot, you can make anything." So I scrapped the sneakers and just focused on the boot, because I was like, if I can make the boots, why not? Why not just later on I can do the sneakers, like he said. And that's how I started, taking apart At that moment, all he did was like vintage engineer boots and jump boots, and he would cut down the jump boots.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was pretty fun.
So, how old are you when you start coming in here and deciding you're going to do boots? You're coming in on Sundays, and how old are you then? Like 18, 19?
18, 19.
And at what point do you start to work here? You know, like, is it part-time? Are you doing like, what are you doing? Like shining stuff for him? Are you?
No, I never worked for him ever. I would just come here. I have my little table, and I just create. So I'll be like, oh, I want to make this boot. And he'll be like, okay, go ahead, do it. He'll never like, oh, this is how you do it exactly. And then I will have a question. Oh, what if the vamp doesn't line up with the quarter? It's like, oh, then you do this. Boom. And I'll go back. So like that, literally just tweaking, and something will come up and finish the product. Yeah.
I mean, when I look at a boot, it's not like a leather jacket. I mean, I guess it is. There's patterns that you're cutting the leather out.
Mm-hmm.
But what really blows my mind is the stuff like you showed on YouTube yesterday, where you said, if you want a shiny wood sole, you got to go the extra mile, but it's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
All that kind of stuff is the stuff that I think about every day when I'm looking at boots and I go, well, that's wrong. Or that's how come this boot looks great from the 40s? Or why is this jumper boot so cool? And that kind of stuff. And aesthetics-wise, what makes you start digging deep? Like, okay, I want to have like the ultimate boots. You know, what are you seeing? Are you looking online at old school boots?
I think I get my inspiration from like vintage pictures. You can see a lot of vintage pictures from a guy, Vintage American Workwear. I like workwear stuff, you know. But it's also my teacher, like, he shows me tricks like, oh, to get a super polished heel, you go make some soap, you get that foam, you put it on the heel, and it'll give it an extra shine. And here and there you spray it with some water to get like that spit shine, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, like on a jumper Vietnam, let's say paratrooper boot, like the shiny cap toe.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how you get that kind of stuff? It's crazy to think about. Like I remember watching Officer and a Gentleman, that movie, and they had to their boots had to be like, you know, chrome.
Mm-hmm.
They had to shine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was always like, how do they get them to look like that? You know,
there's so many tricks. Some guy even told me, oh, you should get some Armor All for your tires, put on your boots, you're good to go. I'm like, I'll try it one day. I haven't tried it yet.
That stuff dries your boots out, though.
Probably, yeah.
So one of my questions is, of course, like I said, you got the patterns for the leather, but how do you learn how to do, like I watched you resole and restore a pair of Red Wings on your YouTube, and it was blowing my mind. Because you basically got an ancient pair of Red Wings. You did them up for the guy, and they look fantastic, but they still look old. You kept all the patina and everything. But how do you learn to put that Vibram sole on and all that? You just from practice?
Yeah, it's from practice, but I'm not really sure how to explain that question. It just comes naturally, I guess. I'm not sure how to explain that.
I mean, because are you practicing just on a bunch of pairs of boots and messing up like a tattoo apprentice? You know, a new tattoo guy is like just tattooing 1,000 times before he gets good. Because I mean, I look at the machines and I look at your work and I'm thinking like, that looks like a guy who's been making something for like 40 years. You know?
I see. Well, I've always been really attention to detail. That's what I've always, like, maybe because I'm stubborn, you know, I just want everything perfect. And sometimes my teacher gets, like, he's like, why are you going to do it again? You know, you're gonna waste all that material and you're not going to make any money. But I'm like, no, I want it super perfect because, you know, it has my name on it. And sometimes he tells me, like, you're messing up, you know, that's not business mentality. But I'll tell him, no, I don't care. I just want it perfect because I just worry that the customer sees that he won't like it, you know.
Right.
That's the every time I sand something, I try to do it so perfect, just to make people happy. I guess, you know.
It just blows my mind So you're here, you start coming down, you're practicing, you're making some boots and stuff. And at one point, do you decide, all right, I'm going to start making some engineer boots? Because that's your first model that you came out with, right?
Yeah, but before making engineer boots, I was a cobbler, literally just resold boots. And
Here at the shop.
so I was 18, 19. And after that, I was 18. I took a year off of school. I didn't go to college.
Yeah.
My first year. And my parents were pissed off. And then from there, I came to the shop. Every Sunday, I'd just come to the shop, go home, and work on boots and shoes and sneakers. And after that, my mom was like, you need to go to school. And my dad was like, you need to go to school. My dad's Vietnamese. So, you know, he's Asian, and they have certain...
Your dad's Vietnamese?
My dad's Vietnamese.
Are you Vietnamese and Hispanic?
Yeah, half and
Gotcha.
half.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then I tried to find something that I could finish quick. And my brother was doing aviation maintenance, fixing airplanes.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, I could do that. I went to go Long Beach City College and got my certificate for aviation maintenance. Took 2 years. But during that time, I couldn't go to a shop anymore. So what I did was I was going on Craigslist and eBay and looking for machines. So all these machines in this room are actually mine, and they were all in my garage.
Wow. You're buying these off Craigslist and eBay?
Yeah,
So in your mind, you're like addicted to being a cobbler, right? But you're going to college to satisfy your parents. Do they not see like cobbler as like, oh, you out of your mind, right?
Yeah, most likely. Probably thought I was crazy and wasting my time.
So you're buying these machines. Where are you getting money to buy these? Are you
Screen printing T-shirts.
screen printing T-shirts? So
That was what I did in high school. So I just printed T-shirts at home for little businesses, stacked up some money, little things like that.
like bands and stuff like that?
Yeah,
Make some shirts in your garage?
Yeah, and I had to try a little clothing brand that I was trying to push. But I learned from that brand a lot. Yeah.
What was the brand? Was it trying to make like hip hop fashion?
This was more of a Banksy style.
Oh yeah, awesome.
So I would like very abstract and message driven. Like I would like there was a design. It was like an army tank and all these soldiers coming at you, and there's a road. But then it's ironic that there's little ducklings crossing the road.
Right.
Stuff like that. Yeah, so I saved up that money, bought all these machines. I went to I met a lot of cool people. I went up to Sacramento. I met like a cobbler that was retired. Not retired, but well, he had a little shop, and then Walmart bought the whole space and they kicked him out type stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Stories like that, and it's inspiring.
Now, how did you know what machines to get? Because when I'm looking at the machines, these over here look like massive sewing machines, like some kind of stand-up sewing machine. They've got some thread and then a big wheels. They both look the same. And all three of them actually are the same brand, Landis.
Yeah.
How did you know these are the machines I'm looking for? And also, who works on these machines?
Well,
This looks like some Jesse James shit, you know what I mean? Like he's got
but I had
this...
to use my secret weapon, my teacher, you know?
Yeah, so he told you what machines you needed?
Yeah, sometimes he'll come with me and check them out, and oh yeah, this is good or this is not good. He gives me tips, and he helped me out finding out. Yeah.
So you're buying them and you're putting them in your garage, and are your parents going like, "What are you getting these for? You're going to be an aviation engineer," you know?
Yeah, exactly. But you know, I think what drove me the most was I guess the fear, because I really wanted to do something for myself and work for myself. I only had one job in my whole life.
Yeah, what was it?
It was at Great Steak. It was cooking French fries, and I only did it for one day.
Really?
One day, my friend got me the job, and I went there, and she was telling me, okay, today you're gonna learn how to make French fries, and then she gave me the whole drive, and then you're gonna close, and you're gonna wash these toilets, you know, and she like, this is how you spray, and she'll be spraying and coughing and stuff. Like, no, I don't want to do this for a living. I need to do something where I can actually benefit. So I was like, let me just figure out how to make boots and shoes. Maybe that will help me.
Man, it's so crazy to think like you had that vision, you know, to make boots, and what a perfect storm while that's brewing in your mind. Slowly, this complete storm over the last 10 years or so of the whole Japanese craze of like this flannel I got, Ironheart, and Japanese denim and all that stuff, and horsehide and everything of quality really is all from like Rin Tanaka's world of that Japanese stuff is brewing at the same time. My point is, you're making stuff that all of a sudden people want, because garbage has been out there for so long. A boot with a glued on sole made in China, that you ride on a motorcycle and it falls apart in 6 months, a year, It's not supposed to be like that. Boots are supposed to last you a lifetime, like a leather jacket. Condition it, resole it, and keep wearing them, So at the same time, this whole scene's happening,
Yeah, and I didn't know that. And I feel blessed that people actually appreciate quality, like Row Club and all these great brands out there that actually put the extra mile on their product,
Yeah.
And I never knew it was going to work out, but I just gave it my all because my teacher told me. I even had a second. I asked him, you think I should go back to school? You think this is going to work out? He's like, I don't know, but just if you really want it, just do your very best, and one day somebody's going to come to the shop and actually, buy something from you or appreciate your work. And that's what I did, and some crazy way it actually worked.
Well, what is your first break? Somebody comes in here and says, hey, can you make a shoe, or what happens?
My first break was Instagram.
Instagram. How many years ago?
I'm not sure, maybe 3 or 4. I'm not sure how long I had Instagram, but if you go way back to my Instagram, you'll see like random pictures of screen printed stuff or something, because I used to screen print.
Right.
And I was like, maybe I can get business printing t-shirts or something, and I did that. But then I started taking picture of boots, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna dedicate myself to Instagram and post every single day. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
So it was like an experiment. So I posted an engineer boot that I resold somewhere here in the shop. I just posted it, and some guy from Canada named Daniel hit me up. He was like, can I get your number? I was like, all right, why not? Let's try it. Gave him my number. He called me. He's like, oh, I like that resole you did. You think you resole my boots, but I live in Canada. And I was blown away that very second. I was like, wow, like some person literally wants me to work on their boots.
Yeah.
And
in Canada.
In Canada.
The power of social media. That's what I love about this podcast. People email me, hey, I'm in South Africa. I love your show. Or I'm in, Hong Kong or whatever. I'm like, wow. You just can't believe it, right?
Exactly, right? In some way, from there, I resold that boot, finished it, posted it, and then some guy from the UK.
Wow.
Sent me his boots, and he just built from there. And then I put myself on like forums, Ironheart, and all these other forums, and slowly people started sending me their boots.
Wow.
And that's how I started.
And at what point do you say, you know what, I'm going to make an engineer boot, my own boot, and why do you pick engineer boot?
Well, because one of the first boots I worked on was an engineer boot.
So you understood it inside now, right?
And that time I really liked engineer boots because that's all I worked on, and I understood it more, and I saw all these cool vintage brands and the different details, like the quad stitches on the counter or the vamp, how the toe track, and that's how I started falling in love with vintage, I guess. You know? I was like, that's cool. Yeah. And then I learned different details of the soles, and I just applied it all together. In my mind, I always had an idea of making a boot, but I never went for it because I guess I wasn't confident that it would do good, Maybe I'll just stick to resoles. But then same time, I was like, why not just do it? It's not going to hurt. So I finally released an engineer boot, and the waiting list filled up quick. Boom. I already had 10 orders. And
wow. From Inspiration, you go to Inspiration, or where do you get the orders? From Instagram?
From Instagram and forums, and it's because I just posted, oh, I'm thinking of releasing an engineer boot, and people were like, really, I want to see, and I was like, holy crap, like I have a little audience, and that's, it blew my mind. I didn't expect that.
Now, your engineer boot is very specific in the shape and style. What made you choose the toe shape? There's a channel, right? You got the channel on the top.
Yep,
I've never seen that on a boot before. It's on. If you look at his boots, it's on the top. It's called a toe track. I've never seen it. What is that about? And what made you choose the shape and style? Is it more of a 40s engineer boot instead of a 50s, 60s? Because that seems to be more of a rounder toe, the 50s, 60s ones. And the 40s are more kind of the shape of yours.
Well, my ideal vision of my engineer boot, I put the toe track because that was more of a given, because many vintage engineer boots had a toe track. And the reason why there is a toe track is because it's called a crimping process, where you make a flat piece of leather turn 3D, and it's easier to last on the boot, on the shoe last. So, but back then, engineer boots weren't like a luxury boot. It was just to wear and tear and
they're like $30 work boots.
Yeah, exactly. And they would put them on this machine that would crimp, but that machine is like a hot blade, so it will actually like burn the leather.
Wow.
You know, so it was kind of like a mistake.
Wow.
Yeah. So I used it. I was like, that's cool. Let me just put it on my boot because it looks cool. And from there, I put the Woodsman heel because I feel like the profile with the Woodsman heel is the best. I like taller heels.
Yep.
It makes the shape of a boot look more, I guess, more. I was trying to go for more of a formal casual, like a pair of boots that James Dean will wear.
Yeah, cool.
That's what I was going for. So that's why you see the toe box. You're right, toe box back in the day, they were more squarish, roundish. But I went with a more slightly pointier because I wanted to go for that little slight Western feel. Right. So that's why you see the instep strap on my boot. It's a little higher because when you put your jeans on, some people cuff them higher to show the buckle, but I was preferring them not to show the buckle, so it gets like the cowboy looking style look.
Right.
If you sit down, you can actually see the buckle. Your pants lift up. So all these things were going through my head, thinking. Yeah, it took me about 2 years to finally release an engineer boot. I have like so many samples in my garage.
Wow, 2 years.
2 years. Yeah.
So what would you do? You'd make a full pair from the ground up and then wear them a little bit and go, I don't like this or that about them?
Yeah, that, and I would just, because if you make the pattern, you last out the boot, you finish it, it'll never look like the drawing you did. So I would just like draw on the boot. Okay, let me put this higher, lower, let me add this. And sometimes because I sit down, and sometimes I don't sit down, I just think throughout the day. So if I'm designing something, I'll just think for weeks and weeks of different ideas until something hits me like, yep, that's it. For some reason, it just clicks, you know? Things that click together, I just put them together, and that's the way I design, I guess.
Wow, that's wild. Now, once you lock in the final design, you put it up on Instagram, you start blowing up on orders big time?
Yeah. When I think I released them on November, and I had like 10 pairs to get done, and I can only take 10 pairs a month because that's all I can do. But
wow,
next year I'm going to slow down and probably cut down to like 5 pairs.
Really?
Yeah, because I also have resole work, so
yeah,
it goes back and forth.
There's some great detail to your boots. The thing I like a lot is I just saw it on your Instagram yesterday, is 2 things. The bottom of the sole, the roll club sole. Mm-hmm. It's fucking great.
Thank you.
And I look at that and I go, who makes that? You find a company that'll make your detailed sole? Mm-hmm. It's so incredible. The second thing, it really reminds me of old Buco leather jackets, is your logo. The patch on the tongue, on the inside. Mm-hmm. You posted it yesterday. I love that kind of shit, that detail. It's like, look at that patch or whatever it's made of, you know. Mm-hmm. It looks incredible. Right away, you look at the boot and go, I don't know what that boot is. Roll club. No one has it. Mm-hmm. So now you're cruising with a boot that no one has. It's so great. Do you make that the patch logo thing for the tongue, or somebody, you come up with it and then somebody prints it up for you?
Yeah, what I do is, going back to like screen printing, you actually need to learn how to use like Photoshop and Illustrator.
Yeah.
So I would design on Illustrator, and then I'll just send the vectors images, and someplace down in LA makes the labels for me. So
how do you find the right place to make the labels? Because, you know, that thing looks vintage and cool.
Oh, yeah.
You go to the wrong person. Do these guys specialize in vintage labels or something? Because when I seen it right away yesterday, I go, man, now it's even getting cooler, you know?
Yeah, I just get referrals from people, you know, people I trust that, they know what's good, and they just refer me, and I trust them, and came out really well. I really like it.
Is the label new? Because I've never seen it before.
The label, yeah, they've always been on the engineer boots.
Oh, I got you. I never saw it before.
On the gusset tongue right here.
Right. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk a little bit about soles and leather. You're about to make some horsehide boots.
Mm-hmm.
I love horsehide. I think it's the best on the planet. The way it ages, the way it patinas, and the way that it takes the dye in. It's way different than calf. And it's probably some of the next level stuff, you know. Boots back in the day were made with them. And I feel that the Japanese really brought back horsehide because they demand, you know, the old school horsehide and
yeah, like you can match your jackets, you know, with the horsehide jackets.
Totally.
Yeah, I like horsehide as well. I like it because, you know, it has smaller pores than cowhide, and it gets a nicer shine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I get my leather from Horween from Chicago.
Oh, the best.
Yeah. And
wow, it's Horween horsehide.
Horween horsehide, exactly.
Amazing. I love them. I've got a pair of Van sneakers.
Oh, that's cool.
DMA in Italy did a collab with Vans, and they're Horween leather.
Oh, nice.
These things they're the skate highs, but they're basically like having a leather boot. Like they'll last forever.
With the sneaker sole.
Oh yeah, with the Van sole, you know, and it's a cap sole. You can re-sole it.
Oh, that's dope.
So this is going to be a sneaker, a Van I'm going to have forever, and I want to see what this Horween turns into. You know?
Yeah, definitely.
That stuff they were the oldest tannery in America, right?
I believe so, and they're really good people that helped me out. I remember the first time I was looking for horsehide, and I found Horween, and I learned they make horse strips. So I hit up Tannery Row, which is like if you want to buy small batches of leather, you go to Tannery Row, and I emailed a lady called Shelly, and she was nice enough to handpick my horse strips for me because I need a certain size, or else I can't make the engineer boot because they're so tall.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky that I met her because she hooks it up every month with a new batch, and she handpicks them for me. So
wow,
you know,
so good, man. All your engineer boots are horsehide?
At the moment, the black and brown, yes, and the green is
the olive green
hide.
Oh, I love that olive green. Can you get that in a horsehide? Or?
Well, we'll be working on it. Don't worry.
I love green.
Oh, yeah, me too. I love olive. Olive.
Me
is
too,
a
right?
Great, rich color.
It's such a beautiful color on leather, and when it ages, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Now let's talk soles. I recently have been rocking this white
Christie sole.
Yeah, and it's a foot saver, man.
Oh yeah,
it is. I could never wear Red Wings because that toe box is weird. I got a really wide foot. All theirs come in 9D unless you order 9EE or, you know. And once you get into double E, then you got to back down to 8. So 8EE. But the boot, the Red Wing, as much as I loved it, it never looked good to me on me. A moccasin style isn't really my flavor. I love it, but when I put it on, it's not me. I grew up with boots like Chippewa, the fireman boot with the zipper.
Oh, right,
that was one of my favorites back when they were made in America still. And then, of course, I worship Westco boots. I switched to them once Chippewa sold to China or whatever, and went to their engineer boot. And now I'm on this sole, and I love it, you know. It wears out quick, but wow. I'm surprised you don't have it because you're standing on your feet all day.
Oh, I feel very comfortable wearing my engineer boots to work every day. And I never had a problem, but when I first came to the shop, I was into Christie soles and wedge soles. I remember I made a pair of chukka boots with those.
Yeah?
My teacher loves wedge soles. He can never wear any boots like that.
Yeah.
With a woodsman heel.
They're so good.
Yeah.
They're so I'm 50 now, so I'm like, oh, this is an old man boot. And they look cool as shit.
Yeah.
Like my buddy Marin, he's like, I don't like that white sole, you know? But I just love it, you know? It's smoking comfortable. And does anybody ever order your engineer boots with that white sole?
Not at the moment, but there's one customer that I think he's on a waiting list in November. He's getting a pair with wedge soles, so that'll be pretty cool.
So how long's the waiting list now?
Right now, if you order my boots, I put you on. I'll start your boots in February. They'll be done around beginning of April.
You'll start someone's boots in February?
Yeah, if you order right now, yeah.
Right now?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Now they can come to the shop and get custom fitted, right?
Yeah.
Measure your foot and everything. What do you get from that? How do you, when you measure a foot, you just measured my foot.
Mm-hmm.
What do you get from that? Do you cut it out, or do you get a piece of leather and cut it to match the size and then take it from there? How do you learn that kind of shit?
Oh, that took me a long time. Trial and error. And what I basically just take 3 measurements from you, and I ask you a bunch of questions, because sometimes it's not about what's your size. It's really about the person's mind. You know, some people can be a size 9, but they feel more comfortable in a size 10.
Right.
So that makes a big difference. And, you know, I get the shoe last. I put it on top of the paper.
What is the shoe last? The actual...
The shape of the form, I guess, that you use to wrap the leather around.
Gotcha.
To get the shape in the toe.
The actual piece before the sole's knocked on. It's just the first piece of the boot.
It looks like a foot. Yeah, it looks like a foot.
Okay, got ya.
And that's your foot, and that's the shape. And from there, you create the upper. And even creating the upper, I customize that too. So if you order a pair of engineer boots, I made it a little modern, because like the width, the opening of the boot, I make it as narrow as possible, because nowadays people like more of a skinnier jeans.
Oh yeah, totally.
So they can tuck them in and put them in, and it'll be way more convenient. So your jeans don't look blowed out. Like,
oh, you know? Yeah, because the old day everybody had boot cut on.
Yeah.
Or those big 501s are just a barrel leg all the way down, and of course 70s full blown bell bottoms. But now, I mean, like this jean, you can't really, it's tough to wear an engineer boot with this jean, because it would just look like it's just sticking out, you know?
So I'll make the shaft a little narrower, and I use the measurements for that as well. So I make it as small as possible, so your foot will still slip in and out, and you don't have that extra space. And even people can even customize to like add a zipper, or they can lower the heel. I could put a wedge, so it's like unlimited. And that's what's cool, because, you know, I can actually create what people want, you know.
You put their name inside the boot?
I could do that too.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah, I like that. And then, you know, what year they were made, I think that kind of shit's cool.
Yeah, we can do that too.
I've seen some jackets where you opened up the pocket, like Langlet's, and it just says, like, you know, Dean Del Rey, June 16th, 2001.
That's cool. That's pretty cool.
It's really cool.
Yeah, people are getting creative, like vintage engineer boot John. He actually put a D pocket on his roll clubs.
A D pocket?
A D pocket.
Whoa, like a Buco D pocket.
Yeah, exactly.
That is sick.
Put studs on it. It looked pretty cool, you know, and I love working with people who are always
outside the box.
Outside the box and creating something crazy, I guess.
Yeah. At what year do you buy this shop? Like, is it about to close and you go, uh-oh, I better buy it, or what happens?
What happened was, unfortunately, the owner, he started getting older and tired, and he would like knock out while he's working, you know.
Yeah.
And he couldn't anymore. He wanted to. He couldn't take him away from the shop, but his wife told him, "You're done. You know, it's time to retire." And the shop was gonna close, and my teacher, he has certain situations where he couldn't, you know, put the name and all this stuff. So got my money and gave him an offer, and he said, "Okay, let's go." And now I have the shop. I'm blessed to have a shop in LA. That's pretty cool, right?
Well, especially in this day and age of this neighborhood that you're in, it's just getting gentrified, and the prices of rent and everything are through the roof. I mean, you could just see a landlord could come through and just be like, "Hey, plow this and let's build lofts."
Yeah.
You know, especially with the Staples Center and how hot it is down there.
Yeah.
You know, it just keeps going out and out and out with the lofts.
Definitely, like I saw it. Sometimes I worry because they're talking about like, oh, the owner might sell this building, and you know, and what if everything's gonna be gone? All these cool little spots. I love this street, Maple Street. Like, there's a place where you can buy your groceries, your meats. There's an old lady over there selling, like, she's basically a Home Depot. You know, you go in there, oh, let me get some nails or some 2x4s, and she'll know exactly. Oh, you need them for drywall or for wood, and
wow,
you know, it's pretty cool.
In her house?
There's a right there, Flores Hardware.
Oh wow! Oh, I love those old hardware shops.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And I was like, there's everything on this little spot. There's a barbershop there, and there's like some like pharmacy down there, and it's perfect. You know, some Chinese food if you want some.
It's great, man.
So it's a good street.
Good arts around the corner.
Yeah, and I hope nothing happens to the street because it's a beautiful place.
It really is cool. Well, man, you know, I love your work, and it really blows my mind. And I just love that you're 24 and you're a cobbler. Anybody could be like a chopper builder. That was like a hot thing. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, I'm going to build choppers or whatever. But people that like, you know, like say the real McCoys, they build these Buco jackets that are identical but even better. And your boots are identical but even better, you know. Because I love all the old vintage stuff, but it fits funky. An old leather is boxy and too short in the back now. It's like 23 length, and so your ass is hanging out. Back then, they wore pants up above their you know belly button. You know, they're like a 24-inch rise and shit. So it's great to have the old world craftsmanship, but in a modern fit. Because everybody's into, you know, the better your stuff fits, the better it looks, you know? Yeah. And this place blows my mind. I just love watching your videos and stuff, you know?
Thank you. Appreciate it. I've been working. It takes a lot of time making those videos, but I feel like there's nothing there on YouTube like that. So I decided to make these videos, and people can ask me questions, or, you know, some guy might say, oh, what does a Red Wing look like with a woodsman heel or a wedge sole? Now they could go on YouTube, search it, and it'll be right there, you know?
Yeah.
Try to make it convenient for people, because people my age, they don't know what a boot is. You know, everyone's wears sneakers.
You're so right? Yeah. That's another amazing thing. Like, your friends must think you're kind of a weirdo, right?
Yeah, definitely. Wearing overalls with a fedora, looking like about to go herd the cattle or something, you know?
Yeah, right. When I first met you, like at the Inspirations, I was like, what is this guy, like 17? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And your boots were blowing my mind. Everything about him. You had your own box. You had your own boot. I'm like, this guy makes them? I remember it was like 2 years ago, and I was like, hey, can you make me a paratrooper, a jumper boot? And you're like, yeah, I'm going to be working on that. Let's talk, before I cut you loose, you're making boots now other than engineer boot. Somebody can get like I'm going to get a Vietnam kind of
jungle-inspired
jungle boot.
Military-style boot, yeah. Right now I'm working on a pair of lace-up boots. It's going to have my taste, my twist to it, and probably release next year. I've been working on it for a while, chipping away at it.
Yeah, that's great, man.
Yeah, right now I have just the engineer boots, the chukka boots. The chukka boots is more like just an Insta release. You know, I don't put it on my website. Only people who follow me on Instagram could actually know I make a chukka boot. Because that was actually my first release.
Yeah?
If you go way back, I released the chukka boot. And I probably had only like I don't know, 50 followers, and nobody bought it, and I was disappointed. And maybe that made me more worried when I was releasing my engineer boot, because I was like, man, hopefully, you know, something good happens to me.
Well, engineer boot, you cannot ever go wrong. It's a classic. I mean, as soon as you watch The Wild One and see Marlon Brando pull up, you're like, I got to have that boot. I got to have that shot jacket. And I don't need his hat, but I'll take his yeah, you know, that hat. Yeah. But you know what I mean? It's Biker 101 in not in a like an old 70s biker, but more of a classic 50s look of 501s. That's a look that'll never go away.
Yeah,
you know? Definitely. So you got some lace-up boots coming, and how can everybody get a hold of you? Instagram is Brian the Bootmaker.
Yeah, Instagram's Brian the Bootmaker. You can find me at rowclub.com, and that's basically it. Yeah. Or and my shop. You can make an appointment on my website. Come to a shop. I can measure you up, or we can bring your boots and get them resold.
Yeah, yeah, and man, I don't see why anyone would take their boots anywhere else but here to get resold.
Thank you.
I mean, it's just, I don't care where you live. Send your boots to him and get them redone and keep those boots all your life. Hey, you ever resole a Doc Marten?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I did? Some guy said, "Oh, I get my Doc Martens resold." I was like, "What? I've been throwing these things out every 4 years." Where do you get the Doc Marten sole? From them?
It's not exact Doc Marten sole, but I add my twist to it, and I can put any type of. I can put a cushion sole if you want.
Man.
Yeah.
Right. I was thinking about doing that to my my jumper boots. Just throwing one of these soles on it because those jumper boots are hard. I love them. But I think that they're 9E, and I think they're a little long. Mm-hmm. They should be 8.5E, you know, because they're a little long, and they're the sole. And when I'm out at night standing, they get sore.
Yeah, those rubber is like a lot of plastic in it. That's why there's not that spongy.
Oh, that's the deal on it.
Yeah.
And your sole's rubber.
Yeah, rubber. There's more rubber. You gotta have a little bit of plastic in there, so they're still a little rigid, but they'll last just as long as a Vibram.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I love you, man. Thanks for doing the show.
My pleasure.
And I'm looking forward to seeing what you build, and I'll keep retweeting the stuff and taking photos and pushing people your way, man.
Thank you. I
got
appreciate it.
There he is right there, Brian the Bootmaker, Roll Club. Follow him on Instagram and get yourself some boots, man. You know, winter's coming.
Right on.
Oh, if he orders them now, you'll have them for next summer. You ever get people going, "Where's my boots?"
All the time. But quality takes time.
It really does. Thank you, man.